spotlight also. Charles for Charles, 180 for Satterfield. Satterfield. Charles missed.
And sometimes.
3, 4.
Hello everyone. Welcome back. I hope you are all well and blessed. This time, I will discuss the plot of a film titled The Resurrecting Champ. Resurrecting the Champ, 2007, is a sports drama film about an ambitious journalist, Eric Kernan, who rescues a homeless man, whom he believes to be a boxing legend who was thought to be dead. As he tries to revive the champ's career alongside his own, Eric discovers a complex reality that changes his perspective on life and family. The film is based on a true story, originating from a magazine article written by the journalist himself. Although some changes were made for dramatic effect, the film remains one of the most inspiring and motivational films. So what's the story like? Let's watch it until the end. But before that, don't forget to click subscribe, like this video, and comment on which film I should discuss in the next video. We begin this film with a man named Eric Kernan. He is a sports journalist, but unfortunately, his writing is rarely used by his boss, Ralph. His articles are often considered bland and lacking a distinctive voice. Back when his former editor was still around, Eric was fairly respected. However, since losing that support, his career has slowly faded. Aside from his professional struggles, his personal life is also in disarray. Eric has a separated wife named Joyce, who coincidentally works at the same office. Their relationship is strained and only adds to Eric's pressure. What hurts even more is that Eric's son admires his grandfather, Eric's father, a former radio sports commentator, far more than Eric himself as a father. At this point, Eric feels trapped in other people's shadows. His career is stagnant, his family is falling apart, and his son is not proud of him.
About one every 3.5 weeks.
Is Mom sleeping in the alley?
One night, while walking home, Eric sees a group of young men beating up a homeless man. Eric steps in to stop them and helps the old man. People around refer to him as Champ. The man looks shabby and wears tattered clothes, but from the way people talk about him, it's clear he's not an ordinary homeless man. Champ then tells Eric that he used to be a great boxer named Bob Satterfield, a heavyweight fighter who was famous in the 1950s.
What's going on? Now, what the hell? I just...
Eric listens without much reaction. Before leaving, he gives Champ some money for food. On another day, Eric tells Joyce that he plans to meet Whitley, the head of Denver magazine. If he is no longer used at the Denver Times, he plans to move to magazine journalism. That afternoon, Eric meets Whitley. During the meeting, Eric explains that he once held a record for publishing the most articles in the newspaper, but since his editor left, Ralph no longer liked his writing style. Whitley challenges Eric to prove himself by pitching a story idea. Eric throws out several ideas, but none interest Whitley until Eric mentions a former professional boxer living as a homeless man. When Eric says the name Satterfield, Whitley immediately perks up. He knows Satterfield as a famous boxer and thought he was already dead. Seeing Whitley's reaction, Eric feels like he has hit the jackpot. As a sports journalist, discovering a boxing legend living in misery on the streets could be a huge story. Whitley says that if Ralph isn't interested in Satterfield, then he wants Eric to pursue the story.
But I tell Metz about it, and he says...
Are you sure my dad...
From there, Eric tries to find Champ again at the same place. Champ remembers Eric as the man who helped him and gave him money the night before. Eric invites Champ for a beer and tells him about his intention to write an article about him, about Bob Satterfield. However, Champ says there's nothing to tell. Everyone already knows who Bob Satterfield is. Eric leaves him his business card. Seeing Eric's last name, Champ mentions that he knows Eric's father, who was once a radio broadcaster before his career declined. Eric's father had once harshly criticized Bob Satterfield on air. Eric understands and hopes he can make up for what his father did in the past.
Sure, I remember. What you gonna write about?
And write what you tell me.
Kind of like that guy who used to be on the radio.
Back at the office, Eric asks Ralph for an assignment to replace a sick colleague, but Ralph refuses and assigns him to cover a low-tier boxing match instead. Eric knows his article likely won't be used again, but he has no choice. Before leaving, he looks for Champ and invites him to the boxing match.
He helped the champ when he was down there halfway out.
You thought it all about talking with me?
At the match, a Mexican boxer is heavily favored to win against an American fighter, but Champ confidently predicts that the American kid will win. He even tells other journalists the same thing. After the break, the American boxer wins by knockout. Eric becomes convinced that Champ's experience as a world-class boxer hasn't faded. That night, Eric again tries to persuade Champ to share his past, but Champ refuses, saying no one would read his story. Eric finally admits that his career is declining, he needs a big story, and Bob Satterfield's story could save his career. Because Eric helped him earlier, bought him beer, and took him to the match, Champ finally agrees to help. He tells Eric to ask his questions, and he will answer them. From that point on, Champ begins telling his story, starting with his early career in 1954 as a young boxer in New York.
We put on the X-ray, you was strong, I want to tell you.
He also talks about the abuse he suffered from his father when he was 9 years old. That night, when Eric gets home, he writes about the boxing match. His article gets published, and according to Ralph, Eric's writing feels more authentic than before. While continuing his job at the Denver Times, Eric secretly works on his project. He asks a coworker named Polly to help him find news footage or video recordings of Bob Satterfield. Later, Eric meets Champ again to complete the story over lunch. Champ reveals that he never received a formal education. He had been boxing since childhood. He always believed he could become a world champion until he fought a boxer named Eddie in 1956. If he had won, he would have become the #1 contender, but he lost by knockout. After the loss, he moved to Iowa, left his family, and worked at a horse ranch. His boss recognized him and brought him back into the ring for exhibition matches where audiences didn't really understand boxing, allowing Bob Satterfield to win easily. He fought almost every week, traveling from city to city, winning constantly until he fought too often, became exhausted, lost matches, damaged his eyesight, and could no longer fight in Denver. That was how he ended up homeless for nearly 40 years.
You're like to fighting his fight, you can't. These were... Now, dog.
At the office, Polly provides the data he managed to find, including a recorded match, but he struggles to find any information about Bob Satterfield's son. Eric plays the footage in Joyce's office and excitedly shows her that Satterfield has scars on his back from childhood abuse.
Can you imagine? This one here. See the scar on it?
That afternoon, Eric meets Champ again and finds that he has been harassed by local youths, leaving his eye bruised. Eric tries to comfort him and takes him to a video store to play the footage. Champ lights up when he sees it and explains that the match was against a boxer named Tommy Kincaid. People in the store begin wondering whether Champ is the same man in the video. Feeling uncomfortable, Champ leaves. Eric chases after him, but Champ admits he is sad because he hoped his son would be the one showing him that footage.
Hey, Champ! I thought you'd like that.
Well, I hope it's one day. Thought that'd be a good line to exit on.
Later, Eric continues gathering Champ's story. Champ takes Eric to a neighborhood where Betty, his second wife, lives. They talk about their respective families. Champ reveals that his child from his first marriage told people that he was already dead, likely because Champ had abandoned them years ago. The story deeply touches Eric, as they share similar pain.
Hey, what's wrong? And if you don't know, that's just
Yes, very much.
Grande.
Is he ashamed of you because...
You ain't gonna mess with Betty, all right? 'Cause
One day, Eric hangs out with his son, Teddy. Teddy reminds Eric of his promise to introduce him to an athlete. Eric introduces Teddy to Champ, and Teddy is entertained by Champ's boxing stories.
Heavyweight champ to retire undefeated.
how old are you, huh? What, like 15? Down and almost out, but he's
At the office, Polly secures an interview with former boxer Jake LaMotta, who once fought Bob Satterfield. Polly also finds contact information for Bob Jr., Bob Satterfield's son. Eric calls Bob Jr., but when he mentions interviewing him about his father, Bob Jr. angrily insults him and hangs up.
Eric Kerman. Yes. Fuck you.
Eric assumes Bob Jr.'s resentment toward his father still runs deep. Later, Eric receives a call from Whitley and is connected to Fred, a magazine publisher. Fred expresses strong interest in Bob Satterfield's story and wants it as a cover feature. Eric is given 1 week.
Doesn't want any part of this piece, is that right? How soon we could see it?
Interviews I'd like to take care of.
Eric meets Champ again for a photo session and calls Jake LaMotta, who is shocked to learn that Bob Satterfield is supposedly still alive. They reminisce as old friends.
Times. We spoke earlier.
I thought you were dead. The only ones who ever heard me were... talk to you. How you doing?
Eric finishes writing the article. The article is published as a magazine cover titled Resurrecting the Champ. Everyone praises Eric's work, and Ralph regrets rejecting the idea.
New York and Minneapolis still...
Mom,
Okay, what does that say?
Eric is promoted to the magazine division. He also receives a call from Andrea, a producer from Showtime Boxing, who invites him to interview championship winners.
Yeah, who are you with?
And trust me, that is a considerable compliment. Sure, everyone wants a piece of you. You must be...
Eric is thrilled. That night, Eric tells Champ that the article saved his career.
We done good, huh?
The next morning, however, Eric receives a call from Ike Epstein, a boxing promoter from the 1950s, who insists that Bob Satterfield died 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Eric meets Ike, who confirms that Champ is not Bob Satterfield.
How do you like that?
Most of them.
Epstein.
Eric confronts Champ and asks for identification, but Champ has none.
I got a question for you. It's driver's license, maybe?
Eric shows the video footage to Ike, who recognizes the match as Bob Satterfield versus Tommy Kincaid. But the scars belong to Kincaid, not Bob. Eric realizes he was wrong.
You've been had, son.
Joyce advises Eric to publish a correction. Eric fears losing everything but agrees. Despite success on Showtime, Eric decides to face the truth.
No, Joyce, that's not simple enough.
Then let me...
Truth. Eventually, it is revealed that Champ is actually Tommy Kincaid, who impersonated Bob Satterfield for years. The scandal explodes, Eric resigns.
I didn't know about this.
Let me
She
tell
would
you
know
something.
about
Joyce.
this.
That's Satterfield's obituary.
And Tommy is arrested after a fight with Eric. Later, Joyce tells Eric that Tommy protected his name by refusing to talk.
Demonstrated that you can handle yourself just fine. I mean...
Eric forgives Tommy. Tommy confesses his full story, including how impersonating Bob destroyed his family and led to his son's death. Eric leaves Tommy at Betty's house. hoping he can reconcile. Eric eventually writes a truthful article about Bob Satterfield and Tommy Kincaid. Tommy dies of a heart attack after a final street fight. Eric and his family hold Tommy's funeral. Eric regains his career, reconciles with Joyce, and becomes a better father to Teddy. The film ends by reminding us that truth should never be sacrificed for recognition. True greatness comes not from sensational stories, but from honesty and the courage to admit mistakes. Resurrecting the Champ teaches us that even forgotten lives still deserve to be heard, if we are willing to listen with sincerity. That's it for this video. To be continued. Don't get tired of being a good person. So, what do you think about this movie? Which film should I discuss next? Please leave a comment below. That's all from me. Sorry if there were any mistakes.